Hello and welcome to the Mentorprise podcast, your pocket guide to mindset, motivation and mentorship.
We're really excited today for our first ever episode on the podcast. We've got our very own Emily Gara.
We do.
That's over in Swindon working with Monument Promotions, and I'm actually really excited to have Emily as our first guest because she started just before the pandemic with us, and really unfortunately had a really kind of unusual start.
It was during the pandemic, it was 2021.
Yeah, so kind of quite disruptive for her, and I'm excited to find out her mindset and motivation, what makes this girl tick, and what's also going to help to become really successful in our industry in a really short space of time. Like I said, she's a young lady that's got a huge future with us. It's great to see kind of her perspective today, and you know, she comes from a performing arts background, so very different to what we actually do here. But yeah, I'm excited to have her as our first guest today.
Absolutely. Welcome, Emily.
Perfect. Thanks for having me, guys. I'm so excited.
Our absolute pleasure. So as Rob kind of alluded to in our introduction, so you came into the direct sales industry a bit by chance, I suppose, because good old COVID kind of caused your previous career in performing arts to come to an abrupt halt. Were you in the middle of a show when that happened, or?
No, it was kind of in the process of, because COVID had happened, there was a lot of auditions that were lined up.
Right.
That kind of then just were like, no,
Sorry
we
about
can't do
that.
them. Yeah, and a lot of them were for cruise ships. So obviously with no travel happening and things like that, it was just cut short.
So what did you do initially? You just came back to Swindon because that's where your home base is?
Absolutely. So I was working in London, and both jobs, because of the pandemic, kind of unfortunately came to a bit of a standstill. So I did move home, and then I was working temporarily for Hermes, delivering parcels. Had a little Fiat 500 at the time. I was like the cutest delivery driver ever. Like,
I bet.
hi.
Yeah.
So that was really, it was fine, but it wasn't what I was kind of wanting to do.
I can imagine. Wasted.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, driving around with a sparkly steering wheel, people were like, you don't deliver parcels. I was like, oh, but I do.
But I suppose during the height of the pandemic, people were just excited to see anyone apart from the people that they live with, weren't they?
100%. And do you know what? As you guys probably know, I am a chatterbox. So, like, it always took me so long on these rounds because I'd made so many friends along the way that it was just like, hey, how are you doing today? Gifts galore. I loved it.
Yeah. Well, that's probably the reason why we've invited you on the podcast first. We're like, we're not going to be, short for conversation with Emily Gara. And so you've been in, within direct sales for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
So relatively, like, right at the beginning of your kind of career and journey. And you've managed to do so much in that time already. So initially starting off kind of getting to grips with sales, and now you've got a team that, as Rob rightly said, £12,000 in revenue created in a week. So that's pretty impressive. How was the initial, or I suppose, how's the journey felt so far?
Do you know what? The journey has been incredible. I won't lie, when I first started at Monument, I kind of came in with, I'm going to try it for a month with the goal of going back to London. And I remember coming home and saying to my mum, and she was like, oh, but how's this going to go? And I was like, give me 2 weeks. Let me see how I get on. I was like, Mum, I love this. This is amazing. And
I get to talk all day.
Oh, my God, yeah. I was like, Mum, you tell me all the time. I talk too much. Like, I get to do this all the time now. So initially, like, I wasn't keen on building a team. I was just like, let me just do my thing. And then Matt kind of sat me down and said, oh, you can do this. And I was like, sure. Why not? Yeah, exactly right. What have you got to lose, kind of thing. And I just started finding that it wasn't necessarily easy building a team, but I found it easy because I love people. So, like, I got to make new friends along the way at every single point, and I was like, this is amazing. So if I just make a new friend, show them what I do, I can build a team. Oh my God, this is brilliant. So yeah, the journey so far has been absolutely incredible. Like, I wouldn't change it for the world. And I think that, the path that I'm on now is exciting. And I said to Matt recently, like, I just feel like this openness, especially at the moment where I'm just like willing to learn so much. And I'm just in my receptive era where I'm like, let me know everything because it's going to go in right now. So, no, it's exciting for sure.
I love that, receptive era.
Yeah.
Because, there's a lot of stubbornness we're finding with some of our team where they're trying to figure things out by themselves. And I don't know whether that's just an ego or whether they just feel that you would get more credit if you've only done it by yourself. But instead, it sounds like you're going, you tell me, I'll kind of work with you.
100%. That used to be me.
Oh.
You ask Matt, he would be like, she never asked for help. I used to cry to him all the time, be like, Matt, I can't do it. And he was like, just ask for my help. And I was like, oh, okay. And then when I started doing it, I was like, oh my God, this is so much easier just asking, like, because I was just finding all of the snakes along the way rather than the ladders, and I was like, I'm just sick and tired of going to find the snakes along the way, right? So when I learned, actually, you can get ahead so much quicker by just asking for that help and being receptive. And, you know, sometimes it's not going to be what you want to hear at the time if you're struggling, but, like, at the same time, it is the right thing for you. So I'm kind of in that kind of period at the moment where I'm like, just tell me anything and everything, because I'm ready, I'm open for it, you know.
And I think in some workplaces, asking for help can be a sign of almost like a weakness, where you don't want to ask for help because
massive.
You want people to think that you're competent and you know what you're doing. But in
100%.
our industry, we've really we say to people, kind of ask for help, let us kind of support you, and let's make things as easy as possible. If there's someone that is good at one of the things you're finding challenging, let's go spend some time with them. So,
oh my God, yeah, 100%.
Do you feel that's quite one of the good things about our business?
Massively. And I think, you know, growing up in the performing arts industry, look, this is no disrespect to the performing arts industry at all. Like, I have lived my best years doing what I love, which is singing, dancing and acting, right? But, you know, kind of when you ask for help in that kind of environment, you're seen as you're not listening, you're not paying attention. It's almost like a stupid question. So I remember when we came in and, you know, I think it was either yourself or Matt who said, no question is stupid, unless it is a stupid question, but no stupid questions. So I kind of sat there and I was like, okay, so I was initially scared because it would look like a sign of weakness, because that's what I'm used to kind of growing up through the industry that I was prior a part of. But now it's like, you're absolutely right. If you ask for the help, you just progress so much, not necessarily quicker, but you just eliminate certain challenges because you're talking to somebody who's already gone through that themselves. Just makes everything such a smoother process. I love it.
I suppose as well, you might look at someone who has a lot more experience and then you think, well, they've got it all figured out and they seem to have it under control. It's like, well, yes, they've got time.
Yeah.
And they've made mistakes, they've gone through those points. But when you're new, you're going through it for the first time. Why not get the cheat codes? I mean, me and my brother used to play, there was a PlayStation 2 game, Matrix Reloaded, I think.
Okay.
We had all the cheats, unlimited bullets, unlimited
Pros at
lives.
the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Why would you do it normally?
Yeah, no, exactly.
Idiots.
We talk about the 3 M's, which is mindset, motivation, and mentorship. What would your definition of having a good mindset be?
I think with mindset, so I was thinking about this one, and I think it's more so having that can-do kind of mindset and mentality, you know, kind of like not allowing anything to ever be too difficult, knowing that you can achieve anything. If it's a challenge, it means that the reward at the end is going to be so much greater. So, like, I never want to say no to anything. Like, if it is a challenge, okay, cool, how can I overcome this challenge? My mindset every day is kind of like, you will have a great day, you will be great at this, you will be successful, you just got to keep going, you know.
Give yourself the time to get good at it.
100%. You know, what's that famous saying? Rome wasn't built in a day. I think it is. I mean, I couldn't build it in a day, let alone God knows how long it took, right? But, like, you know, we've seen in this industry that some people progress really quickly and some people take a little bit longer. And I kind of think that, you know, I'm never comparing my journey to somebody else's. You know, if you've done it in 3 months, amazing, but there's a reason why I haven't done that. So there's some challenges that I need to overcome in order for me to get to the point that person's at the moment. So I think, you know, really believing in myself and knowing that it is possible, but I just don't know that time frame yet, because that's out of my control slightly, because everybody learns at different points. I think that just saying I can do it, I think that's what really kind of maybe sets my mindset apart from maybe some other people.
Yeah.
And have you, has your mindset changed since you started? Because I know kind of when I started in my career, I'm completely different now to the way that I think, how I behave. But what's changed in Emily Gara over the last couple of years, maybe?
I think, without getting too emotional, I think there was a period, not last year, the year before, where my nan unfortunately got really poorly again, and it was a huge shock to everybody in the family. And I remember finding out the day I was going into the field, and I was like heartbroken. And I remember speaking to Matt, and he said, like, all you can do right now, because you're no doctor, you're no surgeon, you physically can't do anything. other than be that ray of sunshine for your nan and just be the, the kind of positivity that your nan needs. And it just made me think, yeah, do you know what? I can't do anything other than be there. So it sounds bad, but I think from her being poorly, it kind of changed my mentality on things as to, do you know what? If she's still getting up every day with a smile on her face and she's going through one of the worst moments of her life, I'm fine. Like, I can get up and do it. Like, there's a bit of traffic in the morning that people like to moan about. It is what it is. You get in your car, it happens, right? Yeah. So like, I've learned not to sweat the small stuff and think with more of a logical mindset than rather than just focusing on being an emotional kind of person. It's just more logic now.
Sounds like focusing on what you can control,
100%,
rather than what's out of your realm of responsibilities.
Absolutely.
I suppose.
Yeah. We don't choose the hand that we're dealt with, do we? But the hand that we are dealt, it's up to us whether we kind of take it and run with it, or kind of go, oh, fuck this, I fold. Yeah, do you know what I mean? So I think now I'm more so in, look, don't get me wrong, when I first started, I think I was more like, oh, for God's sake.
I'm hard done by.
Exactly that, and very excuse-led maybe, but now I think that I'm just like, well, there is certain things that are so out of my control. It's up to me whether I make it or I break it, and I kind of just like, here's what it is.
So you got that more kind of stoic mindset then, where you control the controllables.
Yeah.
Great.
Absolutely.
Perfect. And then the second one, is motivation. Second name is motivation. And what does motivation mean to Emily?
The ability to not give up. I think, similarly to what I've just said about mindset, there's times when there's going to be some real challenges, but I was thinking about this of like, if you were running a marathon, for example, can't relate, don't like running, but if I was to run a marathon, I can imagine that the training would be really hard, and I could imagine that the marathon itself would be really hard, and it would take a lot of time, but that reward at the end of it is so much greater than any struggles that you've had. So I think motivation for me would be like knowing that the end goal, whatever that goal may be, is going to be so much greater, and you're going to have such a great story to share with people, which then in turn can inspire others. Like, if you can inspire somebody just from, the challenges that you've been through and the things that you've done, and it may not seem like much to you, but it can inspire a realm of people. Like, I'm like, oh my God, that's mind-blowing to me. So I think motivation is just like finding what works for me, and it's just like not giving up. Like, I just physically won't. Like, I can't.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, I've said this for years. If you've in the offices that I've ran, to my team, I say to the people, if you've not thought of giving up, you've just not been here long enough yet.
Oh, 100%.
Because especially maybe kind of younger generations, and when I was a little bit younger, often I was taught when I was given challenges to jump ship, do something different, and that was the solution. So would you say now that you've got a very different outlook on that?
100%. I think, it's getting to a point in my life now where, not saying I'm old, please don't think I am, but I'm getting to a point now where I'm like, my life in a few years' time, it's going to look very different to what it is right now. I am still young. I can, have the freedom to go do what I want to do, but I also know that later in life, there's going to be other things I want, a family, children, and things like that. So like the foundations for that, I'm trying to build that now. In all honesty, I'm just too stubborn to give up. I think that's one of my traits, is that like, I can't. Like, it's, I didn't expect to fall in love with this industry so much as I have, like
I don't think anyone does.
Oh God, no. It's like the most bizarre thing. You walk in and it's just like nice people everywhere, and I'm like, oh my God, what is this? But like my goal was always to kind of, go straight back to London after the pandemic finished and see what I could do with the performing industry. I would love to still do that, but now I have another passion. And, from the pandemic being around and, being here for as long as I have been, it's like I won't give up now, because I've worked too hard to give up on this now.
So I suppose you're stubborn to not give up, but you're not too stubborn to ask for help now. Is that where we're at?
Exactly that.
Okay, great.
Great. And the last M is mentorship. And in what would you say, kind of what does it take to be a great mentor? And that might be from mentors you've had, or because obviously you're a mentor to lots of people as well. But what makes a great mentor?
I think a great mentor is somebody who understands the other person that they're working with. Like you said, I've had a few mentors before, and I think first and foremost, you have to get on with them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can't be mentored by somebody that you don't get on with. It's just going to be a bit awkward.
You just won't listen.
Well, no, exactly, right? So first and foremost, you have to find somebody that you click with. I'm very lucky that, as much as Matt's the owner of Monument, I'm very lucky in the sense of not only is my leader, but he mentors me so well. And I know that there's a whole group of people that if I need to pick up the phone and call and ask for help, I know I can. I think what sets good mentors apart from the rest is just understanding what that person needs and understanding how that person works. I've learnt that recently with, people on my team, the generic, when people are calling and asking for help, the generic, hey, look, this is what you need to do. It doesn't work for everybody. So like really learning how does that person work and what do they need at this specific time? Is it an arm around the shoulder? Like, do I need to be soft? Is it like, come on, mate, like, you're better than this. Like, what do you need help with? Oh, you've told me the answer. Great, go do it. You don't need me. Do you know what I mean? So like, it's just learning to, I think, cater to different people and giving them what they need rather than what you think.
So the one size fits all doesn't work in mentorship. You kind of
no.
And is that something you've learned over time of how to deal with different people differently through trial and error? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was, especially working with. There was a period when it's quite funny actually. There was a period when I had a big team of people, but every single person was 18, right? And there used to be this running joke that they'd call me mum.
Oh no.
I know. I was like, guys, please stop. But because they were all the same age and I thought they were very similar. Boy, was I wrong. They were all very different, but I think because they were all the same age, I kind of put them all in the same category. Therefore, I was dealing with them as like a group, and I was doing everything the same with every person. And then I realised very quickly that doesn't work. So when I had Preet join the team, obviously Preet was a completely different person that I've ever coached and mentored before, right? Was it a challenge? Yes. Did I love every second? Not every second, but I did love majority of it because not only did it challenge me, but now I've got this person on my team who I've never had somebody that I've understood more. I've known how to work with them specifically and just, been able to have that kind of relationship where we both have that mutual level of respect where he knows he can ask me for anything. So I think that, mentoring is so important if you find the right person to be your mentor.
Great.
And on that point of mentorship, so because our next kind of question's about advice, because I think over the years we've all had lots of advice from lots of different people, some of it solicited, some, just by chance. But is there a particular bit of advice that you've been given over your life that you still think about today and helps you?
I remember a few people have said this to me before, but I think it's really resonated, is that like, I think people have said to me, like, don't worry about being the best. As long as you're trying your best, that's all that we can ask from you. And I think that my nan's always said that to me growing up, and I've always been like, as long as I know that I'm trying my absolute best and I'm not giving up and I'm not giving in to temptations and things like that, I know eventually, whether it's a week, a month, a year down the line, my work that I'm putting in now will pay me off.
Yeah.
But our whole industry is about work ethic and attitude, right? Which I love, because you what you put in is what you get out, and I love that. And so many people, even yourselves, have been testament to the fact that the business model works, right? So I think that with my nan and other people saying, as long as you're trying your best, there's nothing more we can ask from you.
Yeah,
it's no pressure cooker environment. Hey, you do you. Whatever you do, we're going to be proud of you.
Yeah.
So I think I've just always gone through like trying to be better than myself the day before, not trying to be the best, because realistically you're never going to be the best, because if you're the best, your growth has stopped, right? But if you're always trying to be the best version of yourself, I think then
you'll get better.
110.
Well, because you said earlier about trying not to compare yourself to others, and I find that very hard at the beginning. Maybe because I'm very competitive and I love achieving. So whether that's in sports or Monopoly, again, my family keep reminiscing about a time that I flipped a Monopoly board at Christmas. I don't remember it. I must have been a blind rage, but I remember being at the beginning, and I was starting to build a team, and I was literally breaking my neck looking at other people, and that really slowed me down because I was so much more concentrated on what other people were doing, and I'm like, am I as good as them? I wasn't actually working on myself.
Mm-hmm.
So were you like that from the beginning, or is that again something that you've kind of got better at?
I think, look, there was probably a slight bit of that when I first started, just because I was so new, and my kind of thing is I always want to impress people. I know people say don't care what people think about you. I really care what people think about me.
Yeah, same.
I really want people to like me, and now I'm a little bit better if you don't like me, that's fine. Like, I won't lose sleep anymore. But back in the day, I did really try and impress people, right? So yeah, there probably was a little bit of an element of that, but I think because my whole life I've competed in dance, singing, acting.
Yeah.
I kind of was like, I'm so done with competing. Like, I just want to be me, I want people to love me for me, and whether I'm winning or whether I'm learning, I just want to be me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, if people progress quicker than me, I'm going to be the first person to congratulate you.
That's nice.
I think that it works so well when you have the support of other people.
Yeah.
And I realised very quickly, if people don't support you, that's when shit can get hard, right? And that's when the competitiveness can come in, and I don't like it. So I'm just always wanting to be like that support system, being like, hey, you got this. Like, if you hit it before me, that's cool. Like, because I know that I'm going to hit it as well.
Yeah.
But it just might not be at the same time.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you're really comfortable in what you're doing right now, and the pressure's off, you're enjoying the process, and where we completely overestimate what we can do in a year, but completely underestimate what we can do in 10 years.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think one thing that we've done over the years is can actually just understand there's a process to everything, the pressure's off, and like you said there, we're not in competition with anyone else, we're in competition with ourselves. So it sounds like the version of Emily Gara that we've got here today is probably different to the one that we could have first saw 2 years ago, where you wanted to beat everybody, take over the world. But now that you've got this real belief in yourself of, I am going to be really successful, I am going to hit the goals that I set, but there's a process and it might take some time.
100%. I think, talking of pressure, Matt always says to me, and I'll never forget it, there was one time where I'm better now, but I'm known for putting a lot of pressure on myself. So Matt tends not to put too much on, because he knows whenever he's done it before, I crumble and I cry and I get emotional.
Like, I'm counting on you, Em. You're like, oh God.
Literally.
Don't.
So like he once told me, pressure is good in small doses, but pressure is for tires. And the last time he checked, I was a human, and I was like, oh my God, yeah, I am a human. Literally, like, oh. So I think that like pressure is good, but I think I'm learning along this process to just like take it as it comes. Like, there's no point in putting added pressure on myself, because it just doesn't work. Like you say, there's a process, there's systems we follow. It will happen when it happens, and I just got to ride that wave. I think at the last meeting, Dan Thompson said, the position you're in now is fair to you. And that stuck with me since that meeting, because I'm like, actually, yeah, no, like the work that I'm putting in, it makes sense. But I did have to eliminate a lot of pressure off of myself.
On that note then, are there any exercises or anything that you've done over time that kind of allowed you to feel less pressure and kind of be yourself? Is there anything that our listeners could actually say, okay, I'm going to practically do this next week?
Sounds silly. Anytime you're in that kind of pressure cooker environment, is just, first and foremost, breathe. As humans, we naturally will respond very rationally and emotionally, right? Which, as we all know, doesn't get us anywhere, because it gets you into an argument or gets you into kind of a situation where you aren't thinking straight, because all you're thinking is, what are my emotions saying right now? So one thing I tend to do now is whenever anything is said or done, I kind of breathe. And I go, okay, cool. What would logical M do in this situation? Emotional M would, not really, but like maybe flip a table. If I was like feeling like my WWE phase, I'd be like, wah! Never done that, by the way. But I think, just like taking that moment to kind of breathe, have a moment, and just like, if you can't think clearly at that point, just letting whoever you're speaking to, whatever situation you're in, hey, I can't think logically right now, give me some time and I'll get back to you on that one. And I think that's really helped, because I don't find I'm as quick to react with an emotional response. So I think it sounds silly, but breathing.
Yeah.
Simple but great advice.
Get the oxygen into the lungs.
You know what? So me and Rob have a toddler now, and I get shown a lot of videos about, you know, how to deal with toddler tantrums.
Uh-huh.
And one of the things is teach them how to take a big breath.
Literally.
And I saw a video of this kid freaking out because her mum was holding her ice cream for her. She's like, "Can we take a big breath?" And she's like,
Is that the child or
We're
the
cool.
parent?
both.
Yeah.
The child. But
100%.
I think it was Reese Witherspoon or someone like that who said, "Nothing feels as bad after a deep breath."
It doesn't.
And I was like, yeah, you're right.
It's
It
like
feels
when
good.
you do high energy exercise, right? Like the reason you want to give up is because your heart's going like this, like pitter patter, right? If you take a deep breath, you're like,
Regulate.
okay, fine, I can go again. You know, it's the same when you're in like a tricky situation. Your fight or flight mode initiates, right? And you don't really want to take either. So the best thing to do is just, whew, okay, let me think for a minute.
Yeah, just settle the noise a little bit. Yeah.
Like I once watched this video and it was like this man telling his son about self-defense and like growing up. I think it might have been a film actually where it was like maybe Role Models, if you've seen it, where it's like count to 5 and then this guy's like 1 and he gets punched. So, like, it's not always great in every situation, but like breathing helps.
Brilliant. I'm not sure if you heard of the phrase of the shit that no one sees. And often, you know, things that lead people to success aren't always the things that people around them see on a daily basis. Often things that we do that help people become successful are things that we do, you know, behind closed doors and kind of at home and planning. Or is there anything that you think's really helped you that maybe people don't kind of see on a daily basis, but you know that's pivotal to my success?
Yeah. So a couple of things is the biggest one would be asking questions. You know, we're lucky enough to have like networking calls every other week with, you know, Steve Sapsford, which is incredible. And I always make sure that I have something that I want to ask him because I'm like, this guy has a wealth of knowledge, right?
Yeah.
But then the trick is like it's one thing asking, hey, how do I do this? But it's another thing doing it. So like I know that a lot of people, you know, notoriously we can be quite busy with what we're doing, right? So a lot of people will ask and then push it to the side and then it comes to the next week and they're like, oh shit, I haven't done that. I used to be that person, but now I'm like, okay, cool. I've got to be on top of everything. Like I have to make sure that I've got a great plan. I have to make sure that I'm speaking to the right people, asking the right questions. Also, the third one, it sounds ridiculous. Just going to bed at 10:30 every night really helps.
Yeah. Oh, I can't function. I'm a morning person.
Yeah.
So staying up late, I'm like a zombie the next
I'm
day.
like this. I just can't do it. So like I think that, you know, being strict or with, you know, making sure my team all know like to get their days broken down and, you know, doing the planning whilst I'm having my dinner so I can have that chill out time if I need to or do a call, but then be in bed for 10:30. May not be sleeping, but like knowing that everything's done, because before what I used to do is do the shit that nobody sees but throughout the night and then come in the next day like you say, zombified, no sleep, and being like, I need 10 million coffees to survive. And I think just being more structured with the shit that nobody sees but actually doing the shit that nobody sees. And you know, somebody asked me when we hit assistant owner, like, what was it that you did differently? And I said, we just worked so hard in silence behind closed doors. We weren't kind of going around and being like, oh, we're going to do this and God, you guys should be like us. No, we were like, we got this. We were like silently believing in one another and being like, guys, we know we're the best. We don't need to prove that to anybody, but we do need to prove it to ourselves. So let's go do that. And I think it was just like, there was so much shit that people didn't see, but collectively all put together, I think it just made such a difference. It was really good.
And also, as an entrepreneur, you know, we some days work long hours and we kind of make sacrifices. And one thing you said there is we can be quite guilty of being quite busy and making ourselves sometimes busier than we actually are.
Yeah.
How have you kind of struck that balance of having a personal life, being an entrepreneur, being successful? Because that's something that kind of most people struggle with when they're newer in the industry. But how have you managed to get that good balance?
I think it's just it's all about discipline. I think if you're going to take a weekend off, that's fine. We can do that. You know, we're we're kind of entrepreneurs, like you say. So, you know, if I'm taking a weekend off, I want specific plans. So you know, I know that I'm doing something. You know, my evenings, it's just a case of being disciplined. I finally started going to the gym, so
Good on you.
discipline's getting in there as well. But I think that you have to want that life balance, in all honesty. I think that, you know, like it's like when somebody goes, I can give you advice, but you have to want to take it. Like, I can lead a horse to water, but I can't make it drink. So like, you can moan about, oh, I don't have a work-life balance, but then you're working all these hours and then going home and scrolling on TikTok, and then you're like, oh, I didn't do my work, shit. So like, I think it's just all about discipline. Like, how badly do you want that balance? Because if you want it, you'll make it happen. If you don't, you won't.
So is your mindset then, when you're at work, you're 100% focused on your work and what you're doing, and then when you're not, and you're doing something worthwhile? You mentioned they're scrolling on TikTok, and you know, I'm not a TikToker, but if that's even a thing, I'm showing my age now. But
TikToker.
I'm a big believer, if you're going to have time off, make that time off worthwhile.
Yeah.
And if that time off is worthwhile because you've planned a trip, a holiday, a spa day, whatever it might be, going to the gym, actually while you're at work, you've got so much more motivation to work hard, because you know that your time off's be worthwhile, rather than, you know, lying in bed or being on TikTok.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like last weekend, we actually, as a team, ages ago, we set ourselves a goal, and once we hit it, we would reward ourselves with a day out in Cardiff. So,
Was this the one I saw on Instagram? I loved it.
It was.
I mean,
so
I wasn't
much
there,
fun.
but I lived vicariously through the photos.
Oh my God, it was literally like the most fun day I've had in so long, but because
Really?
we planned it, and look, don't get me wrong, when we got to Cardiff, we didn't really have a plan other than let's drink, you know.
Let your hair down, yeah.
Because we all work so hard all the time, and you know, for us to get to assistant ownership, we put in some hard graft, you know, and it wasn't just, obviously we did it by the end of January, but it wasn't then that we actually hit it, because there was like 6 months prior leading up to that where we'd just gone so hard in. So it was so nice to be able to let our hair down and everything. But then on the Monday, when people came back, because we'd had so much fun, the team that were working, one of them went out and did a new personal best in the field.
Wow.
And I genuinely think it's because we had a solid day off, but it was planned. It was planned fun. I know that sounds ridiculous, but like, we went out with the intention of, let's go let our hair down and have a great time, and everybody did. So I think
I get that. If I have a day where I don't have anything on, I do find that the time goes by so slowly.
Oh, bad.
And then by the end of it, you're like, what have I actually done today?
But you know the days as well where you're like, I don't have any plans for the day, and then you lie in bed and you waste your morning in bed, and then you get up at like midday and you're like, shit, I've got so much to do. But then you procrastinate, right?
Yeah.
So you're like, I need to iron my clothes, right? And you'll do like one shirt, and then you'll be like, oh, program. And then you go back and do a sock or something. And it's just like, unless I have that structure, I just don't utilize my time off well enough. So I think having a plan, but you know, planning for that work-life balance, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah. Maybe just stop ironing your socks. That's probably something we could have.
I have stopped that now.
You mentioned this trip that you did with your team,
Yeah.
and it was kind of planned fun. I can tell from you and knowing your team that you've got the most incredible relationship with them. So for our listeners, how important is relationships with your team if you are building a team?
Imperative. Like, there is, my first thing I want to do when I have somebody join my team is, it sounds ridiculous and take it loosely, but I want to make them my best friend. I want to know every single thing about them before they know anything about me. They can, you know, most people will ask questions about myself, but my goal is to know everything about them. Why is that? Because I want to, you know, learn how they work, how they need me to work with them, what makes them tick, why are they here for, you know, is it they want to just have fun? Great, I love fun. Do they want to make money? Great, I can coach them on how to make loads of money. Is it because they want to progress? I've done that, so all I got to do is just pass that on to you. So in all honesty, you know, my team, like any other teams in the business, we have our ups and downs. We have our great weeks and we have our not so great weeks, right? And at the moment, what we're working on is being more consistent. And I think once we get that, we're going to be great. But also what I do know is from the relationships that I formed with them, I know that my team will never go anywhere, in all honesty. It would be something drastic for my team to go, because they are genuinely, like, what excites me to come to work every day, because I know that I get to work with them guys, and they, you know, I've made it very clear to them, I will do anything for them, whether they need me at 3:00 in the morning for a chat, or whether it's something to do with work related. I am there for them at any point in their life. It doesn't matter whether it's work or personal. I want to be there for them. And I think because of that, we just have such a great bond. And I honestly love them. It makes me emotional speaking about them. They're like my besties.
babies.
Yeah.
Genuinely care, I suppose.
Yeah, like I want no harm to come to them. Like Amelia, for example, nicest girl ever.
You're double.
Love her. Oh my God, like my younger twin. Like people always ask, but I just want to I want to protect her with my life, and I think it's just because we've just worked hard on creating them great relationships so early on. I think that's where people can miss out sometimes, is by forming that relationship.
And that famous saying, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
100%.
So do you think your team, like I said, it's super close-knit, like a bit of a family, and they're going nowhere, and that's a lot down to the effort that you've put into them and the relationship that you've got. Do you feel that they're more open with you because they know how much you genuinely care about them?
They tell me everything. Like literally everything. You know, it happens, right, in offices when there's like little Chinese whispers and everything.
Yeah.
I don't hear that unless it's my team telling me. And then I'm like, ooh, gossip. But yeah, like I know they are so open and honest with me, and I love that about them, because they also know that they can have that level of honesty, and if they've done something where, you know, it's not great or something like that, they know that I'm not going to kill them for it, but what I am going to do is probably be like, hey, let's help you through this, you know. So yeah, honesty is definitely the best policy.
Perfect.
And earlier you were talking about discipline, especially when it comes to, you know, organising your time. And our last question is to do with core values. And I suppose that's the discipline of what you hold yourself accountable to. So for you, what are the core values that you live your life by, both professionally and personally?
Always be the hardest worker in the room. Love that. And never be afraid to be yourself. That is my kind of thing, is that like I back myself. Silently back myself, but I back myself, right?
Yeah.
So like I will always back myself. You know, I know that I'm a great person. I know that I'm destined for great things because of the work that I'm putting into it, right? So core values wise, I just always want to be the person that people kind of go, she's a great person.
Yeah.
You know,
I suppose in today's generation, because we're all very impatient, and also what we're presented on social media is these overnight successes, in inverted commas, where you don't see the stuff that happened before. And you said that you're destined for great success, and I love the fact that you believe in your future because of what you're doing now. I don't know, it's quite refreshing to hear.
And you mentioned being the hardest worker in the room, and I think these days working hard is almost becoming uncool.
Oh,
And it's,
110.
you know, people saying, "Oh, don't work so hard." You know,
Be
have,
an influencer.
you know, yeah, kind of, you know, go out more, go meditate more, go be one with the, you know, with the woods. But to hear that from you and to see that's worked so well as a young female entrepreneur, that's great to hear. And kind of once again, I'll ask kind of the balance between the hardest worker in the room and having a social life. How have you kind of, any hacks, any little things?
In all honesty, I've always been a hard worker. My social life isn't as booming as it maybe could be.
It's not wild.
No, it's not. I like to, you know, I'll make plans and I'll do something once every now and then. I kind of am happy making the sacrifices now, but because of that, I'm not afraid to take time off to be social should I want to be. Because I think that, you know, we work so hard, we are entitled to play hard as well. However, what I don't want it to be is all work, no play, or all play, no work. But kind of, you know, going back to the kind of thing of like, you know, you're saying people are not willing to work hard anymore. For me, that kind of excites me in a way. And
Gives you an advantage.
Exactly, right? Because it's almost like, oh, there's so many people now, like the younger generation, no disrespect, guys, but the younger generation just all see these influencers on Instagram, TikTok, and they're like, oh, I want that life. And I'm like, okay, fine. But what it does for me is I'm still young. I'm not as young as they are, but it opens a door for me to go and have my success whilst everybody's waiting for success to come to them. And I'm just going to keep working hard in the process, making the sacrifices now so that, you know, in a year's, 2 years, however many years' time, I'm in the position I want to be, whilst then people are still waiting for the kind of dream and the success to come to them. Waiting for something, you won't get it. Working for it, you will get it.
But it sounds like you've actually created a social life within work. And it sounds like work hard, play hard. It sounds like you play hard while you're at work.
Work doesn't feel like work, in all honesty, because I love what I do. My team are my best friends. You know, because I lived in London for 5 years, coming back, I didn't know anybody. Like, all of the people that I knew from school kind of were doing their own things now that, you know, they're either married, kids, houses, dogs, fish, I don't know, you name it, they got it, right? And I'm in a completely different point. So coming into Monument, it was exciting because I was like, oh my God, I get to meet, you know, kind of new people. And initially, I kind of just saw it as work colleagues and, you know, home life. And then I started, you know, building this amazing team that I've got now, and I'm like, actually, these are my people. Like, I'm happy to be around them every day. You know, some people would be like, oh my God, you spend all your time with them, and I'm like, I don't mind.
I like
actually
them.
love them. Yeah, like they're actually great people. And look, do they get on my nerves sometimes? Yes. But I'm sure I get on their nerves. It's like a dysfunctional family almost that you wouldn't necessarily put together, but because we all care for one another so much, it just works. So my social life, I suppose, you could say that it is with my work guys, you know, so it's exciting.
Brilliant.
Great.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much for coming in, you know, giving us your time. And for me, I've known you for the past couple of years, but I feel like in the last half hour or so I've actually got to know you.
It's weird, hey?
Yeah, just like, you know, you don't really have these deep conversations just in passing, or, you know, when we cross paths at a conference and stuff. So it's actually been really enjoyable from my perspective.
Yeah,
Yeah,
me too.
incredible. Yeah, thanks for sharing everything. That's a lot of value in there. So well done.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. I loved that.
And here's to the next 2 years to see where you're going to be then, eh?
Yes, exciting.
Brilliant. Thanks,
Right.
Emily.
Thank you.
So Nina, that was great with Emily, that conversation, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I was quite not surprised. It's just I've met her so many times, but I've just not really spent loads of time with her, and I was really impressed by just, you know, how much she's kind of grasped, and, you know, her mentality. I found quite refreshing.
I love the idea. She said that she didn't deal with pressure too well when she was inexperienced, but how she's now to manage pressure and focusing on, you know, her game and staying in her lane rather than focusing on anyone else's, what they're doing. And I think that was really smart. I think a lot of our listeners can probably relate to that and actually take a lot of value from that to make sure they're focusing on what they can control and what they can do and enjoy the process.
And for me, it was the part where she said that she was in a receptive phase and she was just really ready to have all the advice and take it on board.
Absolutely, yeah, great conversation.
Thank you very much for listening to the Menterprise podcast. We want to give some recognition to people that have made this happen. We want to thank Luke and the rest of his team at Access Creative College, who have given us access to these fantastic facilities, and also to Edward Collis Films for all things to do with videography.